At Equipify, we are enabling for financial institutions the way to launch in-house BNPL. And Laura, we in our conversations up till this point, we have basically kind of talked about so many different ways that buy now, pay later exists, right? At the most general level, it is like it's payments related to one single transaction. It could be financed, across different periods of time with different interest rates. But at the end of the day, what we've seen is consumers telling us that this is a way that they prefer to pay. And from a financial institution, but also from, TransUnion standpoint, it's impacting how we understand creditworthiness. And we hear from financial institutions all the time, how to really understand that from a lending perspective. And so that's why we have you here with us today. And I'm really excited for us to answer the questions that so many financial institutions have submitted to us. Those of you in the audience, if we don't get to your question, we will send you a follow-up email. There was so much, and we will. Maybe this needs to be a 3-day event next year. This is what I'm learning. But Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kind of start us off a little bit, introduce yourself and your role at TransUnion?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jazzy. My name is Laura Euphrasio. I'm a director at TransUnion. I focus primarily on consumer lending, but specifically around emerging credit trends like buy now, pay later. So before I was in this role, I built the solution for buy now, pay later for the credit bureau. So excited to talk to the team about what that means and the implications of including buy now, pay later on the credit file.
Awesome. And I guess, the best way for us to start this conversation is to kind of set some background, which is, at TransUnion, when did you really start to notice buy now, pay later start to grow as kind of this vehicle, and realize like, oh my gosh, this is not a fad, like it's here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we start to see real momentum around 2019, so right ahead of the pandemic. And then COVID really accelerated that adoption dramatically. So you probably all remember sitting in the audience, financing a Peloton through a firm during COVID. And that was really the first step. A lot of buy now, pay later providers were working with merchants to offer the financing option. Fast forward to where we are today, it's really available anywhere from brick and mortar institutions to even companies like DoorDash, right? People call me all the time. Hey, Laura, I saw a buy now, pay later ad for DoorDash last night. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But it's just very prevalent. And the consumer has shown that this isn't just a trend, right? It's really impacting the overall financial landscape. And
Mhm.
consumers report high satisfaction with the product. I know the last panel was talking about increased adoption and how there's repeat users of buy now, pay later, and that's consistent with what we're seeing on our side too. So I think it's really here to stay, and it's not just a trend, and it's had substantial growth over the last 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, following up to that, then, why do you think that is the case? We've
Yeah.
seen that, we're seeing headlines saying the preference for that is greater than, sometimes even credit cards. Like, what is the appeal of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. We surveyed consumers about it too because we were curious, and there were three answers that came back. Number one was affordability, right? So it helps consumers manage these larger transactions and break them into these chunks that are much more manageable. Two is convenience. If anyone on the call has ever taken out a buy now, pay later loan, you know how easy it is to open a loan and do that right online. It's a matter of seconds a lot of times. And then there's also cost consciousness. Many consumers are turning to BNPL as an alternative to traditional lending products because many of these products also offer 0% APR. And in a lot of ways, it's a really sound financial decision for consumers who are saying, you know what, I know I can afford this in four payments rather than putting on my credit card and paying a fee on it. So they're a little bit more savvy than they've been in the past when it comes to managing their credit. So it really offers them the transparency, flexibility, and control over alternative lending products.
Absolutely. And, turning this slightly toward like a financial institution lens, and this is actually our first user question, or
Okay.
take, which is what are the major benefits to financial institutions and their customers for buy now, pay later? Why do financial institutions want to play in this field?
It's a great question. Buy now, pay later is really offering a way to meet those evolving consumer expectations. The last panel was talking about how many companies are looking to attract the Gen Z and millennial consumer. And this type of product can attract a younger, more tech savvy consumer. And it provides those consumers with flexible payment options. Um, and it's really truly like a budgeting tool too. So it allows them to manage those cash payments without resorting to the high interest credit solutions that are out there. And when you implement this product thoughtfully, it can really enhance that customer loyalty to your community financial institution, and it really opens doors to broader financial wellness too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, I love what you said about opening the door toward financial wellness because, we're talking about creditworthiness today. And, on an Equipify end, we're just a tech stack, right? We don't tell the financial institutions what to set for their parameters. But at the same time, we do know that we have partner financial institutions who are integrating their BNPL program into understanding, and deepening the banking relationship, and maybe able to say, oh, well, we know how your repayment looks like for your buy now, pay later loans with us. This can be a potential for you to, maybe even get better interest rates or have access to other products, right? It's opening doors within that financial institution's relationship with their customers. And I guess, where are we today when it comes to understanding creditworthiness through BNPL?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We always talk about how buy now, pay later could be a stepping stone, right? So the idea that today you could be financing a pair of sneakers, but in the future, you might want to take out a loan for a home improvement or an auto loan. And if you've demonstrated successful behavior through buy now, pay later, that should be a way to indicate, yes, you are worthy of additional loans.
Mhm.
Um, and when we built the solution for buy now, pay later, we knew that these types of products were being taken out frequently. So we couldn't just throw it into the core credit file and let it go willy-nilly, right? Consumers were using these in lieu of credit cards. And therefore there were a lot more transactions. So what we did when we built the solution is we created special tagging for buy now pay later loans, so it still flows into standard metro 2 reporting, eoscar reporting, and dispute management, but it is not impacting the credit score of the consumer, and that's because these loans need to be treated differently. So that's where we are today, and we're still waiting for major furnishers to be sending all their data in order to create a new score model on top of that. And that's taken a little bit longer than we would have liked, but we're well on our way to that being a reality.
I love that. And I like kind of how you painted this picture. It almost seems as if as an industry, like our eventual goal is to give consumers access to the tools they need and also build financial wellness. And that requires, on a reporting level with the information you get, and also in some ways, for us to be able to support the consumers as they kind of build their credit strength and financial wellness. And so it's almost as if we as an industry are trying to put together this giant puzzle, right? And
Yes.
and the more we see, the more usable it is. And at the same time, we are still in the process of this. And so, there's some kind of like take this with a grain of salt, but there's a bit of kind of calibration that we put into this method.
Absolutely. And it is across the industry. So it's the credit reporting agencies, it's the financial institutions, it's the credit card lenders, like everyone's trying to adapt to
Mhm.
this all at once.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen this sort of new product in years where we say, oh wow, this is really not a traditional lending product. And we
Mhm.
really have to adopt across the entire industry and the
Mhm.
ecosystem in order to get these into the consumer credit profile.
Absolutely. And I think one of the takeaways that I had from our conversations was, at this point, BNPL usage within the US consumer, um, you know, demographic has it's been so the volume is so high that from a lender, from a financial institution point of view, to not be able to consider that as part of the larger picture is almost like having a giant blind spot.
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and in some ways, like credit bureaus are trying to provide the tools that's necessary. And on our end, when we're talking to our partner financial institutions about having their own in-house solution, is like you're supplementing your data now with clear, relevant stuff for your customers,
Hmm.
so that you can have like a deeper picture for the people that you're serving, right? And
Hmm.
so it's where do you look externally for information, and then also what can you generate internally, particularly as debit buy now pay later does appeal to those who may be more credit averse, or they're
Yeah.
too young to have like a solid credit score. And so
Yeah.
it's there's like a demographic there specifically for them.
That's right. That's right. And I think that, buy now, pay later, I just want to point out because we've talked about it quite a bit, but there's always this common misconception that it is a Gen Z product only. And what we find from our analysis is millennials are actually the largest users of buy now, pay later, and that's followed by Gen X and then Gen Z.
Hmm.
So you really have like this huge swath of the overall consumer population who's very hungry for this type of product.
Hmm.
And, they see the appeal of, for the reasons I listed earlier. And if you have the opportunity to offer the product, it can really help you deepen that relationship with the consumer.
Exactly. And one of the coolest things is, so Laura, you get to see things when it comes from like, maybe more third-party fintech provided BNPL, and then we get to see the aggregate FI BNPL numbers, and they look almost identical. Like we see similar demographic usage. I think the other thing was the 80% and above repeat usage. Like it is nearly identical, and that was one of the coolest things.
Yeah, I love when we had that conversation. I said, "Oh yeah, 80% are repeat users." And you said, "Yeah, we see the same thing, 81%." So it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it just affirms that, this sort of repeat behavior, we're seeing it across different financial institutions and both the third party and then the buy now, pay later products that you provide.
Exactly. So let's get into a couple more audience questions. The first one is, yeah, see, this is why. So the first one is, so from what you've seen from reported data, how will BNPL loans impact consumer credit scores? And let's put it in the context of, the FICO scores and the headlines we've been seeing of that coming out.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of questions around FICO recently announced that they were launching a score this fall. So we've been getting a lot of questions around it, and we think it's awesome, right? Like this is a huge leap forward for reporting of buy now, pay later. But the FICO and other companies still need to work with the major credit bureaus in order to get that data onto their files. So although it's great, we still need to have at least one to two more major lenders before any sort of products can be turned on. That being said, TransUnion has been working very closely with all major buy now, pay later lenders over the last 5 years. And, we have like weekly, if not daily conversations with them about sending data. And we're doing analysis and reporting to make sure they're comfortable sending us the data and that we can integrate it into the system. But for the FICO score, hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later, but you still need more major furnishers sending data before that can truly be turned on. But
Mhm.
overall, it's a great stepping stone.
Yeah, we are putting together the puzzle together.
Again, it's a truly a group community effort. It's not just one person who's going to turn it on. We all have to sort of hold hands and jump into the pool together at the same time on this thing.
Exactly, exactly. And I guess the next one is, how do you build creditworthiness then with BNPL loans?
Oh, it's simple. I mean, truly use the product responsibly. Make the payments on time and treat buy now, pay later like any other credit product. So, when you use this thoughtfully, it can be a powerful tool for budgeting and for financial management. And over time, it could potentially contribute to building a positive credit history. So just use it like you would anything else.
Mhm.
Um, And there's no magic formula to making payments on time and proving credit worthiness. But we think as long as folks do make the payments on time for buy now pay later, we certainly want to include it in the scoring models to be positive.
Exactly. And I think kind of from what I hear from our partner financial institutions who are using this, they are able to, on an institutional level, use that to understand kind of where the cash flow strength, the credit worthiness of individual customers are at,
Yeah,
and do that to support them in their journey toward financial health. Some of our partner institutions actually, develop strategies using buy now, pay later specifically in support of helping consumers build their kind of credibility with the financial
that's
institution. So
great.
that's
Yeah,
absolutely amazing to see.
yeah.
So here is my final question, and this one's more of a technical question. And it is, can we as FIs report current BNPL loans to credit bureaus?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said at the onslaught, we really needed to make sure that we're tagging these appropriately. So it's being reported as a buy now, pay later loan. So if that is something that a community financial institution would like to do, just reach out to us at TransUnion and we'll make sure that we're tagging these appropriately and we're coding it with the rest of the buy now, pay later loans. And we want to make sure that it's, recognized as buy now, pay later, and then it will be treated appropriately in our models and our attributes.
Yes. As in so many things that are innovation related, collaboration is the name of the game. And here too.
Yes, yes, yes. Agree, agree.
Yes. Well, so these are the only questions that we can get to today. So thank you so much, Laura. And for those of you who didn't see your questions answered, don't worry. We will be responding to you in email, and we will be releasing kind of an overall recap of this for everyone afterwards. But meanwhile, this was fantastic, and it helped answer a lot of the big questions that's been outstanding in the financial institution world about how to kind of understand BNPL in this term. So. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, have a wonderful day.